All right, cool. So, essentially, like, I've been thinking a lot, and I've also just been watching like a lot of FNCS recently because that's coming up. Obviously, we have Grands, I think, coming up this weekend, or should be next weekend. It's coming up very soon. I gotta check the date. And I've also just been watching like a lot of your content, and
Mhm.
as I'm like thinking about how I would want to like build a team, right? I think the
Yep.
most important skill, if I really want to do this the right way, is to make them into W King warriors, right? Like I just
Okay.
don't think that anybody that's not, like if I'm going to do this and I'm going to really invest a lot of time in this and really try and create great players, I want them to be W King killers. And I think one of the keys to doing this is going to be reducing time. Like, so I think of it in like two variables, right? So essentially what I want to do this lesson is like I want to walk you through like my thought process and essentially like do like a lesson where I'm teaching you, but you kind of correct
Yep.
stuff as I mess it up.
Yes. 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 I see.
So that
Yeah.
way I can kind of
Totally
think
get
of
it.
it
Hmm.
through, right? So I think about two variables, especially when I've been watching a lot of gameplay right now. There's two variables I think a lot when it comes to W King, right? And I think you brought it up in the last time, but damage taken, obviously, we want to minimize this as much as possible,
Yep.
right? So we want to find ways to where we don't take a lot of damage, but at the same time, the time to kill. I think this is probably, or time, I'm going to say eliminate, 'cause, keep it PG-13. Time to eliminate here, has
Hmm.
to be extremely low. So the
Yes.
whole goal would be to minimize both of these variables. So we don't want to take very little damage, and we want to minimize the time to eliminate, right? And make this as small as humanly possible. And as I watch pros play, the number one thing that I recognize that they all really, really have in common to succeed to success is they are all extremely good at aim dueling. I think this is the secret. I think this aim dueling is more important than like triple editing is more important than most things because if you can win your aim duels and you can key into people's boxes and get a lens and just end fights extremely fast because your aim is so spectacular and you just win these matches, you are gonna be very successful in W key. So the question is how do we win aim duels and how do we force aim duels to happen when we have an HP advantage? So those are the two things. So I think about HP advantage, right? This is goal number
Yep.
one. Make sure we have the HP advantage when we enter the aim duel. And then secondly, taking the aim duel on our terms, right? Because I don't want to take an aim duel on my enemy's turn. I want to take an aim duel on my terms, right?
Yes. Yes.
So when
I,
I think about it, oh, do you have something to say? Sorry.
oh yeah. Yeah. I was just gonna mention. I guess just to like add a little bit of thought like into it. It's the two variables. I cannot agree more. I think what you said is 100% true.
Thank
I
God.
was just telling a bunch of students recently, like listen, like high ground doesn't kill the enemy. Like full boxing the enemy doesn't even kill the enemy.
That
Like
was actually one
making
of
a
my
crazy,
questions on my
you know what I
list
mean?
is
Like
how do you take
yeah,
high ground and convert it into damage? So I'm getting
right.
to that, but like, one of the things that I really want to emphasize to my students is to figure
Hmm.
out ways to make everything into a box fight, right? Because I think if
Okay.
you're just a killer in box fights and you can just make every fight you do like into a box fight, like and that way you don't have to master like four skills. You master one skill. You know what I mean? But that's more
Yes.
of a question I kind of have for you. But let me go ahead and kind of break down like my thought process as far as how I'm going to coach this like effectively. So like the thing
Hmm.
that's going to determine, in my opinion, like the winner of an aim duel is generally who starts first.
Yes.
Obviously, we
And
both hit our starts shots, right? So let's say
yes.
assume both people are equal, right? So HP advantage obviously is number one, but then to ensure that you win, you have to start first,
Right.
right? So
And what do
that
you feel like
means
decides that? Like how do you decide who got to start first?
yeah, so the way I would decide that is through the shotgun shot. So essentially, the trick is, in my opinion, is figuring out
Hmm.
ways to get into the person's box and have them miss their first shotgun shot, or have them with their blueprint or pickaxe out. Essentially, you
Yep.
want it to the point where you're starting the aim duel when they're not ready. So like you're starting like it's like a race, right? But you're starting here and they're starting
Yep.
here, right? And you
Yep.
have an HP advantage, right? So the trick is to make sure that when you're entering in the box, you don't take a lot of damage, right? You have to be able
Hmm.
to enter the box and essentially have it to where they have gun swap delay. Because essentially gun swap delay means that they're completely incapacitated for that half a second. They're
Yes.
completely
Yes.
incapacitated. So if you hit a 180 shotgun shot, they're dead. Fight's over. They're dead. Done, over. I
Yep.
don't care if they're a world champion in the game, multiple time FNCS winner, right? You get into their box, you hit a 180 shotgun shot, they're most likely going to die in the next couple seconds,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's really what I've been thinking about a lot. Now, here's the questions. So the questions now become, okay, so now we know what we need to do. So to have successful W keying games, we need to get into people's boxes, right? So we need to phase. And also I have on my list here walking through practice routines that I think would develop this. Okay, we need to be able to phase in, right? Aim training is going to be high on my training priorities, right? So when I'm training the kids, aim dueling and aim training, like this is going to be probably the most important. I actually think, in my opinion, the most important skill in the game, the skill in the game that's going to bail you out 99.9% of the time is your shotgun accuracy. This will be the most practiced skill. And I also think this is tried and true. Like, I don't think this goes away ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is just like, this is how I'm like trying to build like a coaching program because like nobody's ever really built this before. And this is why I need your help because like I feel like you have enough knowledge that if I'm saying something wrong, because you corrected me in one of my videos. Like
Yep.
I posted a video and you made a correction in it. It actually did really, really well. But I think phasing in is an extremely important skill. And I actually found a map that does this. I think making sure aim dueling and aim training is essential because essentially you need to be able to phase in and hit a shotgun shot for 180 and you can't miss. You just can't miss. Like Acorn doesn't miss, right? Like
Yes.
Peterbot, they don't miss. That's the difference. The difference is that when they go for that shot, they hit the shot. Reet doesn't
Yep.
miss. You know what I mean? That's
Yep.
that's just the difference, right? Okay. So, and then the last thing, which is I think is very tricky to figure out, is doing the phase in and doing the aim duel, but starting first. This has actually been the hardest part of how to do it correctly, but is
Mm-hmm.
initiating the aim duel to where you start first and where they don't have the advantage. Okay, so that's like the next thing. So now I've laid down how you win, right? HP advantage, you want to start first and you need to hit your shots. Okay, so obviously these are all things, but now let's actually look at how to start first. This is something I've been
Yeah.
thinking about a lot.
Let's pause here for a second.
Okay.
Just to like, so I'll add in a like 'cause some things are correct, some things are wrong. So I'll mention this right here.
Okay.
So your premise about damage being the most important thing, agreed. Absolutely, could not agree more. Right. At the end of the day, a lot of people are chasing some crazy clip. They're chasing like, how do I kill this guy in the most fancy way? And unfortunately, fanciness is the death of fundamentals, and you're not going to get the fastest time to kill. And then as soon as you run into anyone decent, it falls apart because you're not chasing the kill. You need to
Right.
chase the kill, and the fastest way to do that is damage without taking damage in return. Like that's it's that simple. And then what you can do is like, yeah, of course, you can build or stack advantages in such a way that it's going to help you do that. But at the end of the day, like, how can you kill them the fastest? Like if they're bad enough where you just start spraying at their wall, there you get like a 300 damage. Yeah, why aren't we doing that? Why are we like going around replacing wall? Like just spray at them and see what happens. Like to some degree, sometimes a lot of people need to just start doing that. So that's one thing. Number two is I think jumping in and aim duel. First of all, aim duel is not only useful for box and box fighting. Aim duel is really useful for close range aim in general, even if they're one box away. So this is why aim duels is super important in my opinion. However, I think jumping in is a component. Jumping in should be a response to a certain set of conditions. So, for example, in this case, I would say sometimes jumping in could be good even if they're full HP. What are your thoughts on that?
100% as long as you start first.
Right. Okay. So let's say they're full HP. How can you start first if they're full HP?
That's the okay, so that's where I want to get into now. So that was my next
Yeah.
thing. Let's just say they're full HP. Sure. So they're 200, 200. Let's just say very here. Let me go ahead and reset my voice. Can you see my screen here?
Here, let me join. Let's see. Yep, I see it.
All right, so let's just say, very common situation here. I see somebody, like, let's say I'm on a rooftop, right? I shoot at them, they start to box up, and I come in like this. So let's just say a person here in Brick just saw some shots, right? He made a box, right? And then I immediately started to push over. Let's just say in a very common situation like this, okay? So, very first thing that I look at, right? And I've been thinking a lot about this. I've been thinking a lot, right? Is converting a diagonal box fight into like a straight on box fight, right? So obviously we want to start from the diagonal, right? Because we can create the pressure.
Yep.
But the problem is that the shoot and base stuff, like you can do this and this is good. but the time to kill will go down. So there's three components that I've been thinking about a lot with this, right? So here's the three components on pressure, right? When I say pressure, I mean constant chance to take this wall and to kill them, right? So that's the pressure. It's the threat of you killing them is how
Yeah.
I'll define, or excuse me, eliminate them, right? And there's three ways we can create pressure, right? First is with your pickaxe, right?
Yeah.
Second is with your shotgun. And then third is with your secondary weapon. I'm just going to call it secondary weapon because this could be your shotgun, this could be your sniper rifle, this could be your AR, right? But these are the three components, right? So when I think
Yeah.
about this, the pickaxe is good because there's no reload, right? So I can
Right.
use my
Right.
pickaxe all I want. The problem with pickaxe is that I can't damage my opponent when I use the pickaxe. Shotgun is
Right.
good, but then of course there's a cooldown on the shotgun. And the secondary weapon doesn't have that, right? But you have to reload this. So reload time on this is longer. Where shotgun I can reload it really quick, get two more shells in, and then I can pressure. Right? But you
Right.
generally for your secondary weapon, no matter what it is, after you kind of run out of that clip, there's a long time where you have to wait to reload, right? And the time, remember, we're always looking to minimize as much as possible time to eliminate. This is the most
Hmm.
important variable, right?
Hmm.
Because essentially, the faster we get this, the better. This is the most important. Our goal is to minimize this and minimize damage taken. These are the two most important variables.
Yep.
So, essentially, what something I think about, okay, there's a couple ways to do this. So I've actually started to think that the first thing you should actually do when somebody boxes up here is pre-fire. Because generally when you come here, if they make an edit, right, if you just automatically shoot this with your shotgun, you're creating pressure situations where even if they do peek you, like let's say they're gonna try and do a peanut butter, right? The fact that you're already pre-firing this makes this wall weak, right? And you're already starting to create pressure, right? I think pickaxe is good, but I think creating pressure first with your weapons is better than using your pickaxe. Because if you come here with your pickaxe and you're late on this, right,
Yep.
you might eat damage, right? So, but if you're here and you just automatically shoot, oh my bad, I missed the builds, that's why I died, right? But if you shoot
Yep.
and automatically build, you're already creating pressure and it eliminates the threat of a pre-fire. So your main thing you have to worry about here is the person pre-firing you, right? So that's why you can't necessarily use double pickaxe swing, and you also have to be very careful just trying to spray into the box and
Uh.
exploit.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about this. How do I? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, as you're approaching, right? So them
Hmm.
when you say pre-fire, what does that mean? Pre-fire is
Pre-fires, and
specifically
then
when you
there's two
break the
ways
wall.
essentially, like, okay, so like when the
You
wall
mean
breaks,
counter
right,
shot, or
they
do you
can,
mean when the wall breaks?
when the wall breaks, when the wall
Okay.
breaks.
So to avoid a pre-fire, so first of all, here's the cool thing about a pickaxe that everyone forgets about, right? It's just you don't have to reload it.
Yeah, that's what I'm
If you
saying,
use
yeah.
your guns frequently, the issue then there's pros and cons, right? The gun has an infinite range, right, or longer range, and then the issue is you have to reload it, right? And then also you don't have gun swap delay if they add it on you. So there's multiple pros and cons to a gun that a pickaxe doesn't have. There's also pros and cons to a pickaxe. The thing about using your gun frequently, and I think the biggest best way to do it is to mix it up enough such that you keep them guessing, right? But the issue with using your gun like, let's say you use your gun too much, then you're just deferring your tempo loss to a later point in time where you have to reload, and then they get to free heal. So let's say you just keep using your gun. The counter to that on the defensive is to keep expanding,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Right.
I couldn't agree more. So like I think you use your gun, this is just my thought, to get the wall to where it's one pickaxe swing. Because I think
Right.
double
Okay. But
pickaxe
the
swing is
issue
good.
is though, that is really high investment in terms of ammo. So I'm assuming you're talking about a secondary weapon here because a shotgun, if
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
not a super fresh wall, and especially in this meta, by the way, with this shotgun does not do all that much to shot like walls in general,
Yeah,
right?
it does,
So
especially if you have the auto.
right, so like you're gonna have to spend like half a clip to get the wall to that point, which the fundamental issue with that is that you no longer have a secondary weapon to fight,
Yes, I
right?
100%
So
agree with that.
then, right, so I'm a huge fan of pickaxe swinging and using your gun as a reaction to their behavior in the box, right? So for example, I think I made this a while ago. Let me try to show you this actually.
So you
Okay,
say
so
use the pickaxe more. I just worry that if you're late, right? So if you're here and then they just immediately edit and pop you, right?
okay,
This is
so
like a
then just build.
50-50 trade-ish.
You don't have to. Okay, here's the like when they edit on you, you don't actually have to shoot every single time, right? You could just build in reaction. So are you in danger when using a pick? Let's say this is a metal wall, full built metal wall. It takes 4 pickaxes to break, right?
Yeah.
Are you in danger if you swing 4 times in a row? My argument is no.
Yes. You don't think so?
No. Why? What's the problem?
Because if you miss the reset, or like let's say you're just a little bit late, so you're here.
Well, okay, so the whole premise is that you don't miss the reset. All of it falls apart if you miss the reset.
Okay, I do agree with that.
We need to make the assumption or train until resetting or building is possible. Now, controller players is slightly different. Controller players have to have their gun up more often because their reset is not as instantaneous unless they can somehow train to a point where they don't miss it, which is harder. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. I just think that quadruple swinging literally has no problem. They edit on you, they have gun swap delay, you should be able to build in time. And the benefit that you get, it's not for free. They don't get to edit on you for free. The benefit that you get for that in exchange is after they reset because they have shotgun cooldown because they shot your floor that you just recently placed, now you get to one-tap their wall.
Yes, yeah,
they make
yeah.
2
Every
manipulations
time they edit,
to the wall,
yeah,
and
the wall is one tap. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the punishment. So it's like an advantage. You get to punish them for actually editing on you. Without actually having your gun out at any point. Now, is it good to sometimes have your gun out? Yeah, but not. I don't think it's wrong. I just think it's situational, and you cannot. How do I say it? It's not bad to pickaxe frequently. There's nothing unsafe about it.
Do you think? All right, so like, let's say diagonal box fighting. Okay, I do have a small question on this.
Sure.
What do you think about pickaxing straight on to create even more pressure? So like threatening in exploits with pickaxe, like kind of like something like this, or where you're back here and you're like pickaxing, you jump and do one of these.
You can't react and jump up before they cone you.
So you wouldn't do this one? What about this one?
I wouldn't stand here, yeah. The only time that I would stand here is if you want to jump in, stand there on the last pickaxe, fine.
Okay. Okay, I agree with that. So you would you would start, traditional diagonal box fighting, right?
Right.
And then on the last pickaxe swing, so let's say I'm 2, one more here, I'm waiting, and then I'm here. Boom.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you could do. Okay, but the issue is I don't think you should do this even. If you're just gonna drop and fight like this, because if you're just gonna drop and fight like this, the better alternative is to just do the exact same thing from above.
So you would say the 1, 2, 3 take.
Yes. Now you might be like, oh, I'm really exposed. Yeah, no problem. Do the exact same thing, but move more left before you let go of the edit. And now you have a right hand peek on your floor, like you're chilling.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not like you can get the same effect that you did when you were on the cone from up here. So why go down there? The reason why going down there is bad is because if at any point they retake the wall, now you're out of position. If they retake an insta cone, you're out of position.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So if they
and yes, you could flip your cone. Yes, you could flip your cone. But generally speaking, for human error, flipping cone is harder than resetting and building, number 1. And number 2, even if we assume that you're perfect at that, you're also out of position because they would probably just replace the cone right after, and then you're stuck. So yes, you could flip cone and edit a sidewall. But then they're the ones on defense forcing us to reposition. We're the one wasting time. Like, this is crazy. Like, it's so backwards.
Yeah,
we need to be the one pressuring them.
Come out this way, but yeah, I just
right.
The edit, so
but if you're diagonal and you block, you're not changing position. You can just stay at the exact same spot and continue right after.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying just
yeah.
Be very wary of jumping. Yeah, so just always try and create that constant pressure, and then work on the. So you don't think there's any con really to double like just keep pickaxing, they make it.
Well, if you're in the right position and we assume that you can reset or build in time, like perfectly, and that is possible. Then yes, there's no con.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sometimes, of course, based on human behavior, based on like what you feel like they're gonna do, sometimes yes, it is faster. Like we said, the 2 variables that matter. Sometimes it is faster damage because you feel like they're gonna add it for whatever reason, behavior-wise, to have your shotgun out after like the first 2 pickaxes, right? And the reason, like, all of it is a guessing game, right? It's very much like boxing in combat sports would be. Right?
I agree 100%.
Right. There's an element of you trying to see what they're about to do, and you use a whole bunch of behaviors to make those conclusions, right? So whether it's what they're holding in their hand, their movement, what are they doing that's about to tell you, like, I guess that's telling you what they're about to do. So that you can then do the counter to it.
What do you think is the key indicator on when to phase in versus when not to phase in? Like what
awareness.
Awareness of what specifically?
of them. Or that's one of them. Let's say their back is to you. That's the situation where you're 200 and they're 200. They're clearly unaware. Maybe your teammate is on the other wall and they're holding blueprint there. Yeah, jump in.
Yeah, so they were like they're here holding blueprint like
Yes,
this.
yes, exactly. Just send
So
it.
awareness of what they're doing.
2v1. Aware, yeah. You understand that they don't have awareness of it.
Yeah.
And it's not one of those things where they like turn around in time. Like they're like very clueless. Okay, fine, you can jump in. You could also just replace the wall in that case. Like it's not that big of a deal. But generally speaking, in a 2v1, like if you can jump in and send it, like you should be fine.
What do you think of just like something I've been doing a lot in my box fights recently is the moment I just pop up, like let's say I've been practicing a lot of box fights, but something I've just been doing, and I mentioned it earlier, is the moment I just see somebody box up, before I even throw on my pickaxe, I immediately just shotgun. Because a lot of people, man, when I
Depends on
walk
what
up like
health
this,
it is, right?
they're gonna come and they're just gonna make an edit. You know,
Okay.
I think it's just worth the extra bullet, you know, and then I'll start pickaxing, right, and trying to get
But
the play to come out.
this is more psychological than like actual utility, right? Or no?
I think utilities wise, it's really, really important because essentially, like, if I have my pickaxe out, like, let's say the person sees that I have my pickaxe out and I'm pickaxe swinging, right? They're gonna try and make an edit and get a top shot, right?
Hmm.
So, like, but if they see you come here on their wall and let's say they're holding this, right?
Hmm.
If I just walk up, a lot of players may. I see this all the time. A lot of players do this, and I think I just see so many people do it. Is they're gonna try and make a perfect peak, right? On some way, shape, or form. Maybe they're here, like on the backside. I know they can barely like hit me, and if I reset and all that, that's good. But a lot of players, the moment they see you aggressing, they're gonna probably try and make a trade with you.
Right.
So I feel like if I'm here, and the first thing I do is when I see them box up and here, even if it doesn't break, it eliminates them making that edit because then the moment
Well,
they edit, I'm shooting them as they make that edit, which then probably means they're gonna try and run away. Do you see what I'm
right.
talking about?
No, I see what you're talking about. I just don't agree. Because okay, so it's not about whether it's worth the shotgun shot or not. It's not so much about that. Because like, yeah, you have 6 bullets, it's fine. Like, I just think, yeah, it is a waste because, hey, so this is very common. A lot of people in games and stuff like that, we try to make rules or like very standardized routines to a certain situation. I like to remain more dynamic and at least like my routines, I would say at least like, oh, like here's what you should do, right? X or whatever. But I have a lot more ifs, right? So my if for the shotgun shot, like shoot build, let's say, would be them moving to the corner and I'm trying to time it so I can catch them on the rotation to that corner. Not that corner, the one to the right. The one where they're trying to peek me. That to me screams they're about to edit. But if I make a rule that I'm going to shoot every single time, then I'm just losing bullets because what if they're the types who just edit, and this is what I do. What if they just edit on your pickaxe when they see you pull out your pickaxe? Then they're never going to edit early. By the way, editing like counter shot it's not a prediction. A lot of time it's a reaction to your pickaxe being pulled out.
Right, I hear that.
You
Yeah.
can hear it too. You literally hear it. You don't even need to see them. Like sometimes you literally hear the pickaxe and you react very quickly and you edit right after that. Right? So instead of shooting the wall every single time, which number one, sometimes it can reduce the number of pickaxes that you need, but number two, most of the time it doesn't. Like in your case, that it literally doesn't reduce the time to actually break the wall. So that's number one. I know that's not your intention, but I think instead of doing that, I think you just the threat should just be holding your shotgun out, and then shooting when they actually go to the corner or shooting when they edit. Don't
But then the
shoot
thing
the
is that
wall pre-fire.
they won't make an edit if they see the shotgun out because any good
That's
player
okay.
is gonna know
Yeah.
this is an unfair
Your
trade for
goal
them.
hopefully is to like you pull out your shotgun like so infrequently or so like unpredictably that sometimes they do make the edit and yes, it reduces your speed, which is why sometimes I'm just a huge fan of just pickaxing over and over and over.
Say that one more time.
Okay,
Sorry.
let me try to explain it this way. This is a really good way to explain it. So obviously you've heard of rock paper scissors, the game of rock paper
Yeah,
scissors.
yeah. Rock paper
That is
scissors.
what I
Yep.
call like a three-way counter system. Fortnite box fighting is a four-way counter system. Okay, I need to find who did I send this to? Give me like 1 minute because I gotta find
You're
who I
good.
sent this to because it's
No,
such a
now I'm like really fascinated.
yeah
Four-way
yeah.
counter system. Here we go. I
Uh,
already know this is gonna be crazy.
who did I send it to? I'm really trying to remember because I explained it well to him.
I'm just free building.
Yep. Yeah, I'll try to redo it. So,
Yeah, you're good.
okay, you ready? So,
Yep.
let's say red is like defense, and
Oh, wait, should I look
actually
at your
red is
screen share?
offense. It's more
Do
appropriate,
you,
and then
do you
black
have
is
your screen
defense.
share
Okay.
up or?
So, let's say someone's pickaxing your wall.
Hold on. Do you
Sure.
have a screen share
Take
up
it.
or how do I?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Let
Yeah,
me
click
go
your
ahead and.
Discord, click one of the screens, and then
Okay, hold on. Yeah.
yep, there you go, and then just click the
Yeah.
screen there.
Stop
Yep,
sharing. Okay, there we go.
you see it, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
let's suppose that someone has a pickaxe out. This is the black. Sorry, red is offense, right?
Okay.
So the offense player is pickaxing your wall. The counter to this is to counter shot. Then the
Yes, I
counter
agree.
to a counter shot is what I call crosshair. Crosshairing just basically means you have your shotgun out and just looking at it, like we just discussed. The counter to this is to just ignore it and heal, because they're not threatening your wall, right? And then healing, the counter to healing, like to stop someone healing, you have to pickaxe.
This is the most unbelievable thing. This makes total sense. I actually completely understand.
Right.
I've
So the
never
only
thought of it like
adjustment that
that
you need to
before.
make to
Oh
your
my
system, right?
goodness. See,
The only adjustment that you need to make the system,
this is why you're my
yeah,
mentor. Because
yeah.
only you would have came up with this.
The only adjustment you need to make to your system, right, about your rule of shotgunning, is just add if, right? So you're saying crosshair, right? I'm saying yeah, do it when they edit, or when they have their like they're showing proof that they're about to do this, then crosshair, and only click when they actually move to that corner. If you're up here, right? If you're up here, they move to that corner because then it's an indication that they're about to peek, or they straight up just don't move and edit. Yeah, just shoot reset. You could put like the only time you can shoot reset, by the way, is if you have your shotgun out already. That means you have it before them, and you can pre-fire shoot reset before they can actually get their gun off because they have to go through gun swap delay, and you don't because you predictably pulled it out earlier. So that's what crosshairing does. Crosshairing counters a counter shot. So I guess like the arrow is kind of different. I'm just saying. So if they're healing, you do pickaxe. If they're pickaxing, you do a counter shot, right? So it's more so that pickaxing counters this. So the arrows can be either way, like, but it depends on what it means, right? Does this make sense? Like I'm just saying, like if they're
100%.
pickaxing, you go this way.
This is actually what I've been trying to figure out. You just had it already. You had it already.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is what I was trying to
yeah,
describe. Okay, but
yeah.
this is what you would say is the thing. Okay. So next question I have in this like little system, and it's something that I think about a lot. So let me go ahead and share back my screen. But that was genius, by the way. That's one of the reasons why, we're here and talking, because I feel like you're the only person that would have came up with that.
Yep.
Okay, so on the healing one in that pick that system, yeah, this is
Yes.
genius. So you have
Yes.
pickaxe to counter shot, right? So the counter to pickaxing is the counter shot. Is crosshair, as you put it, or our counter shot to their edit, right? And then
Yep.
if we're doing this, then and we're just sitting here holding, then they can heal. So then that's the
Yep.
counter to this, which we don't want, and then the counter to healing is pickaxe. So this is the system.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
now in most cases, right, let's say the person wants to heal, right? You've made a lot of videos about expanding properly, and I think this would be giving a lot of value, especially if I can explain it. So whenever expanding properly, right, there's the 180 rule. You call it the 180 rule. So let's say I'm the player in
Yep.
red and I'm here, and then we have, let's say the defensive player is in black, right? So there's a couple of layers here, right? They always want to either expand this way, or if let's say the opponent goes up, right? It's in three dimensions. So if they go
Are
up,
you in paint? Sorry, I don't see it.
I'm in
If that's where
Kokai.
you're.
Oops, what's did I not share my screen? Hold on. I thought I shared my screen. I shared the wrong thing.
You're good.
Share. Nah, I use like online paint. It's called Kokai. Screen one, I think. Yeah. All right. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah. So essentially, let's say players in red, right? So this is aggro player, and then this is like defensive or just boxed up. I wouldn't even say defensive. Maybe they just boxed for whatever reason,
Right. Right.
right? So generally, they're gonna want to tarp out 180, right? So they're gonna want to go this way
Correct.
on the tarp
Yep.
out. This is the best direction they can go. Now, another couple things that I've also thought is a lot of times, sometimes maybe you scuff this or something happens. So I'm also a believer that if they're like a layer above you, you say you can think of it in 3 dimensions. So I can also, oops, wrong one. I can also go down as well,
Yes. Yes.
right? And then let's say they're below, I can go up, right? Or if they're on same level, something else that I've been thinking is you go down and then out. So you can do this as well, right? So let's say
Hmm.
they're same level or here, you can go down and out, right? As long as you end with a 180 tarp. So you can either tarp 180, right? Or that's option one, or you layer change and tarp 180. In some way, shape, or form, you tarp 180, and then the moment you tarp 180, you need to pop a heal. So my
Hmm.
question to you then is, do you agree with this? As far as
The only part is if they're same level diagonal box fighting and then you go down. That's the only part I don't agree with.
you think
Because all it takes, by the way. So let's suppose they're on. I guess like how do I describe this? Yeah, I don't think you should step. Like, ideally, this is like, of course, you can get away with it, but my only point is that it's punishable. Stepping into the tile where they can piece for even a second is punishable. So if they're on same layer, then dropping is punishable. And one of the things that you need to do every single time, regardless of which direction you expand, is to ensure that the last half second before you expand, they're still in the same location that you thought they were. A lot of people will make assumptions because they're not constantly or very frequently with like high hertz, as I call it, checking where the last known location of the enemy is. So in their head, if you make it, or in your head, if you make an assumption of where they are and you didn't make a check on where they are currently, then you could actually go backwards, but it's not actually truly backward because they've moved and they're
yeah,
actually already on your net. So you need to recently make sure that they're still in the same spot that you think they're. That's number one. And number two, based on that, then you should make the expansion in the opposite direction, right? Because if they change and you didn't realize the expansion, there is still an opposite direction. It's just different. It's
do you
different than what
think
you thought it was.
do you think after you make the 180 like tarp away, so okay, so you're saying not the
Yeah,
layer change. You don't do the layer change unless you know 100% that like they're a layer above,
they're
or
above.
like
They have to be above. Yeah, yeah. And like
essentially
even the
you
bottom
must
layer, right?
expand to where like they can't piece you, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. In that moment, there's a couple nuances. So you know the read move, right?
Yeah, where he jumps up and then goes down. Yeah.
Yeah, like where he drops two blocks to piece you.
Yeah, so
That's
he'll
what I'm
like
talking
let's
about.
say he's diagonal box fighting. He does this really, really well, right? He'll fake or let's say I'm here, right? And then this only
Yeah,
works if they're like a layer higher and they can go down. So like let's say this is
exactly.
2
Yeah.
minutes, yeah. So this person, right, will be here, right? Reed will be here. He'll be threatening, right? And then he'll fake it like he's going up and then he'll come down and he's here.
Right. So why is this so potent, and why dropping down is actually sometimes worse than going sideways? Is because the offensive player has the potential to drop very quickly. It's the highest velocity move they can move. Whereas if they can go to the other end of the box to try to piece you there, they have to move. They have to like they can't just fall. They can't use gravity. Right. So gravity makes it very fast. So you have a way stricter time window for like last known location because gravity is super fast. Right.
So would it
So
be
that's an
worth
element. That's why
doing
read moves work so well.
180 then layer change potentially?
180 then layer change. Yeah, you could. And I'm not necessarily saying that dropping is bad. I'm just saying it's more potent to get
Yeah,
exploited.
you
That's
can
all it
get
is.
pieced for sure.
It's
And
still
Reed
it's
Reed
still correct if
100%
you're
does
careful.
that. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen so he's a master of that doing that, right? He's like one
yeah,
of the
yeah.
best in the world at doing that. No doubt about it. Okay. So I definitely okay. So this
It's
works.
still chill. Yeah, it's just harder. That's all. It's easier to get punished. That's all.
This is why
And
I'm having
I
this
still do it all the
conversation.
time. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
like I feel like I have a good idea on how to do it, but this is why I need to check with somebody that's a pro. I really need to make sure I'm teaching very, very well. I take a lot of pride in my teaching. I hate teaching stuff that's wrong.
yes. No,
You
you're right.
can't
You're
tell.
you're you're. It's right to think that. It's very important.
Okay. Okay, so these two things are good because like if you teach something that's wrong to somebody and then you go back and say, "Oh, I meant to do this," then they're not going to listen to you the second time. So it's very important the first time you say what's right because then they have the buy-in to believe you, especially if they're really good, right? Because really good players don't want to waste their time with somebody who's not going to try hard. That's just why I don't
Yeah,
know. I just have so much passion for it. All right, moving
yeah.
on. So okay, so moving out, right? So you would go 180 and then you can either lay change. Now, my thing is this is something that I know a lot of pros talk about. Uh, I'm very curious to hear your opinion. Let's say we're in diagonal box fight, they box up. What is the ROI of setting up a pre-box?
It has to be only done a pre-box like that. Yeah. So a lot of people will do this, right? They'll make a pre-box and then they'll come back here to box away from here. They're like, oh, I already got him there. The issue is pre-boxes are only good if you're actually there to do damage in the angle that you pre-box. So pre-boxes is basically just, hey, you made a bet or a gamble that they're about to go in that direction. I'm just half a beat ahead of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if you pre-box and like you're not doing it because you think they're gonna go that way, it doesn't do much.
So you should only really try
Because
and pre-box as they're leaving. You shouldn't try and set
as a
them up
prediction,
beforehand.
yeah, as
Yeah, so
literal like, hey,
setting
I,
up
I think they're
beforehand
gonna
isn't
leave.
good. You're more of a fan of like I pickaxe, I can see through. Let's say I pickaxe
Yeah, as
twice, and I can
soon as you
see
see them
them.
turn their head to the side, yes,
Yeah,
exactly,
and you can see them.
exactly.
Yeah,
Because you're also kind of losing your opportunity. Aren't you just telling them your tendency? Like you're giving away your edge. You're like, hey, I'm a pre-boxer. I do this a lot. Like here, look. Like I'm gonna show you what I do. But if you don't pre-box and you save it to the moment that you can react to them actually turning their head to edit out the side or the back, then it's really good. For example, what Reet will do is he'll literally see someone look down, pull blueprint out, they're editing the code, right? Spoiler alert, and then do it as a reaction to that because that's the pre-indicator of them leaving through the bottom,
yes, I
right? So
100%
you
agree
need
with that.
some
Yeah.
evidence or some sort of thing that makes it really likely that they're about to make that play, and then you predictably try to get it one step ahead of them and meet them there.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so that was kind of I was very curious because I watched a lot of content creators like Vibe and Jiven and Ken. They're like keys control this before, so that way like it cuts off their avenue of escape. So like if I'm in here right now, I know I can't go this way because I'm running into the box and then I'm full box and then that's an easy damage shot. But yeah, but
Yep.
then the problem with that is that you lose tempo and you're also spending a currency that's very valuable, which is build material. So you're spending two currencies, which is time and tempo, right, for potential gain on investment if they went that way, but they probably won't go that way if you
Exactly.
pre-box it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. 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 And a lot of people are too heavy on it, and a lot of people don't do it enough. So the people that are too heavy on it, the counter to that is to just not do anything as a defensive player, just heal because they're just pre-boxing, not actually pressuring your wall. And the counter to someone who's perma-pressuring your wall and not pre-boxing at all is to just keep expanding. So if you do a combination of both and keep them guessing, then they're hesitant on either option because they don't know which one you're about to do. So that's why, as an offensive player, you need to mix up your options. Like it's not just pickaxe only. It's not just pre-box only. It's not just other option number C. It's do a multitude of them, and do them in such a way where it's not patterned, so it's very unpredictable. Like don't do like pickaxe into a pre-box into a pickaxe into a pre-box. That's why you don't do like combinations one after another. Like do it very unpredictably without a pattern. I say like built into it, so they cannot
So
predict your next move.
I guess in this little like I guess arrow flow chart we have going on here, right?
Yep.
Part of move, right, would generally be or part of healing, right? So maybe I should put this
Hmm.
as healing slash moving, right? So
Yep.
healing slash moving not only would be countered by this, but if they move, right? So I guess this would then have two directions now. So you would have heal, right? And then move
Yep.
180. So I'll put this as move 180. So move and then slash 180.
Yep.
So this counters this, and then this counters pre-boxing.
Yeah, if you want to add like the dynamic of moving and stuff, then yes, it does become more expensive. Like this whole like flowchart can become more expensive, right? Like
I
at
agree.
any point you could totally move, but like I say, like one time, what are good times to move? One of the good times to move is if they are how do I say, um, leaving your wall very weak, right? And the reason why a weak wall is a higher pressure than a failed attempt is a weak wall has a potential to actually get one tapped. So it's a lot of pressure. Like you can't stop looking at that wall because as soon as you do, they could get one tap. You can't react to it. A two pickaxe wall, a three pickaxe wall, it's like, oh, you get to hear a warning sign before you actually turn and hold it. But a one pickaxe wall, a weak wall, like you have to do something to deal with it. One of the things that you can do is pickaxe your own wall. Another thing you can do is just leave early before your wall's taken. Generally speaking, what I recommend is leave when your wall's taken. But not only is that really mechanically demanding, which is not good in a scrim setting because scrim settings have a higher input delay, all that stuff. Like you don't want to be super on the edge of mechanics when you're in
Yeah.
scrims, tournaments, high lobbies, right? But in general, like if you want to leave early, you totally can, right? And to counter either weak wall or them actually taking it. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to expand this out, you totally can. You see how like all of this is the whole. I guess the whole purpose of it is that this four-way how do I say, rock paper scissors stuff, is just an example. It's a good example, obviously, but just an example of how you should be thinking about it.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
they are doing this, the best way to do it is this response.
the whole goal is just to create some sort of like just the system, I guess. I know I hate to say
Yeah,
the word
yeah,
system
a
because things
handbook,
have to be very
right?
dynamic, but you can take
Yeah,
stuff that's very dynamic and make it like a system-based approach.
right,
You know what I mean? Like
right.
a system-based
Yeah,
approach to this is the goal, not
I
necessarily
think
that it has to be
yes,
exactly like that.
of course, of course. And like having this in your head, I think really this will help me because before I used to diagnose box fighting without any sort of structure, in the sense that like I would just do what felt right, and then I realized when I kept doing what felt right to a really high extent, like I guess like when I came to like I practice enough, like I've realistic a lot, then I'm like, oh, this is what I'm doing. This is what people should learn, right? I've realized like I'm doing these things. These are the things that works most frequently, and then now when I follow my own like I guess like guidelines, it tends to work even better.
So
It's just less
essentially, like,
confusion, you know, less
no, I
ambiguity on
100%
what to
agree.
do.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
I'm also a martial artist, so like this is what we do in martial arts as well. We take things that
exactly.
are
Yeah,
dynamic and we make it into small systems, right?
yeah,
And then we essentially try and control things into this system. And I think that kind of ties into this because essentially what we're doing right now is discussing like high level box fighting. So my next
hmm
question on my list is what are some tricks or maybe not tricks is the right word, but what are very extremely very consistent ways that I can take just a standard scenario and try and always make it into a box fight. So always navigate the fight so that it naturally becomes a box fight. And specifically, my big question is I really need help. I know it seems super simple, like I should understand this, but I think there's so much more intricacies to this than people realize. Is when you have high ground, how can you take high ground and take it from it's good because I have the peak advantage, right? Obviously, I can right hand peek. On high ground, I always have right hand peek, right? My goal would be to take high ground and constantly make it so that I can always get the person damage, right? So I need to take the high ground and make it
yeah,
into damage, right? And now I know you
right.
talk about pouncing, right? So like,
hmm
and I 100% agree, but I don't understand how to pounce properly. So like, the thing with pouncing that I've noticed, especially when the kids do it, is sometimes when they pounce, right? First off, you're like jumping into somebody's builds, so there's a chance
hmm
that like some phasing issues, right? Something unforgiving
Yep,
happens, right? Like you phase in through a cone on accident and you don't end up where you wanted to, and then
yep,
you're in this 50-50 angle. So you didn't get your mission. Your mission was to convert the high ground into damage, and then that
right,
damage will lead to a diagonal box fight most likely.
right.
Right. Your second thing is to spray with the AR, but people are too good nowadays. Come on, like, I mean, try this in a creative 1v1.
Yeah, yeah,
They're just gonna
yeah.
like, I'll build the heck out of you, right? Come up, piece control you, all the things that they don't miss every edit, like I did, right? Right, but that's essentially what's gonna happen. So you really can't
hmm
spray with the AR, right? So like, what against? Let's say I'm facing a really really good player, right? And I just want to create a general rule of thumb is okay. So I've created a really really good player, right? Let's say I cone them, I get to high ground, right? And right now, let's say they're just in this cone, right? And they're looking to go to height. How can I convert the high ground opportunity that I have into damage, which leads into a box fight?
Right. So the first thing I would say is that pouncing, the whole, I guess like, this will help you understand like how to pounce better. The purpose of pouncing is to find a unexpected and new angle. So you don't necessarily have to pounce at them. That's where you run into the trouble of getting boxed or whatever. You pounce around them. And you get pounced to get a new angle to do one of two things. Either to piece, you get the piece, right? So you can drop down on their back wall because they didn't expect you to be there because at one moment you were north of them, but then you like threw yourself to the south side of them and caught their wall. Or yeah, obviously one of them is to piece, and the other one is to shoot. You could shoot build or build at a shoot. Depending on the scenario, you can choose either one, right? So yeah, like I think, and there's a counter. Like so, for example, let's say they know you're about to go on that side, but they have their gun out. Okay, build at a shoot is better because then you can edit a very favorable edit because that counters the crosshairing, right?
So
So
like
and
you're
then if
saying
they're
like
if
I
they're
always have the
unaware, then you
pounce
should
where they're like not looking. So like let's say they see I have the high
yeah,
ground, so they're here, and let's say they do like one of these, right? And they're doing
right,
like one of the
exactly,
retakes you did, right?
yeah,
Your thing is as they're doing that, I need to immediately try and jump like where they're not aware. So that would be something like here, for example, if I was in brick and they were coming up, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So
Yes.
like
Exactly.
jump on their backside. Okay, so that's a
Yep.
really, really good tip. So when you're trying to pounce, you want to jump so on the side they're not looking, right? So if they're looking at
Yes.
me, I need to pounce. Maybe let's say they're in this box and they were looking here, I would want to pounce here.
You're literally trying to exploit their last known location of you, and you're trying to change that very swiftly to take advantage of it.
That makes so much more sense. That is actually a massive detail that I didn't even think about. Is pouncing, but you have to pounce where they're not like you have to pounce to the unawareness side, I guess. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that answers that question. Now, one thing I do have for you is when you pounce, there's obviously a very, very big risk, and that's that you're giving up high ground, right? And
Yes. Exactly.
when you give up that high ground, you want to make sure that that risk, because you just spent resources to gain high ground, right? You just want to
Yeah.
give it
You want to
back
convert
quickly.
it. You
You
want to make
have
sure
to
it
convert
converts to
it into
damage.
damage.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. A
do
failed
you
attempt is
agree
really bad. Yeah.
with trying to pounce, but always maintaining kind of a layer above on the pounce? Like how, like so, like let's say they're here, right? And let's say they box up. So like I sprayed. Let's say I just tap air and spray a little bit. They box up. They think I'm here. I come out here. When I go to pounce, I would generally want to pounce like in over here, like this.
Yeah. I
So
see what you're
I'm a
saying. Yeah.
layer above.
Yeah. Exactly. You could totally do this. Yeah. You could totally do this. It depends on how confident and like I don't think there's any other way other than experience because it's too dynamic. This only comes from experience in the sense that you will usually, after trying this a lot, getting really used to this idea of pouncing, you will usually know whether it's going to work or not. If you're very confident that it's going to work, and all you have to do is hit your shot because you've done it in the past so much and it works most of the time, like 95% of the time, this works. This angle, let's say, or this attempt, right? Then you don't care about height because you know it's going to convert. If you're not so sure that it's going to convert, that you can be a little bit more strict on keeping height. Like so it really just depends on how confident you are that it's going to convert. Because if they're like I don't know really low, you're both. Let's say you're in a situation where you're both one shot. If you're confident that it's going to convert, you don't even care about giving up height. Like fuck height. Like he's dead on the shot, so I'm down to give like he uses the last shot of the fight, right? So yeah, it really just depends on how confident you are, and there's multiple factors to it, right? Like their awareness, like you feel like they're aware of what you're about to do, how easy is the shot, right? Like a whole bunch of stuff. So
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So,
yeah,
and essentially the key indicator. So when would you say is a good time to spray the AR? So like, let's say when is a good time to spray? Try and like maybe
when
not jump
if
in the
they're like
box like that, but like spray from height.
yeah, right. It's if they're double ramping up, it's really hard to hold the back ramp. They can't really hold it. So if you just spray through it, then they're taking damage for sure. Another time to spray often is think about this.
Yeah, so one example you gave is if they're doing, let's say here, they're doing one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is very old fashioned, but the reason it's old fashioned in the sense that like if you do it more than once, one tile, is because of this counter. You could just spray them. They can't really do much.
Got it. So you would be here.
Yeah, just I would say just understand the pros and cons of spraying. So pro obviously is that you have really high, like good amount of DPS. You definitely do damage if it bleeds through. You have a really good range because that doesn't. It's not limited to the range of a pickaxe. The con is that you have to reload it. You're losing your resources or gas to kill the
Yeah,
enemy.
exactly.
Right? You have less bullets to fire. So most
Yeah,
of the
that's
time when I
why.
spray, I like to empty the clip at some point and then just reload earlier. Like don't leave it at half or anything like that. Right?
Gotcha, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely having like ammo in your gun is such a value, especially the secondary weapon. I
Yeah.
think so much in keying is going to be the secondary weapon because learning how to create pressure with this thing without it like going all the way like
That's the biggest
empty.
thing that the pros have over even mechanical players. Like people who look good, they're very mechanical, they're very mechanically capable, but they don't have the fighting capability of like Tayson who can drop like 30 kills or whatever, right? And the reason is because Tayson's really good at understanding exactly when to spray. It's that simple. Like Tayson's just really good at that, and everyone else. So it's not just Tayson. Like a bunch of pros are really good at knowing when to spray the sub or AR to get free damage to convert into damage.
I've been thinking about that
Yeah,
so much. Like literally, I've been like watching so much VODs and like thinking about that so much. Is how do you use that secondary weapon? I've always felt like that was a very key component to taking
yeah,
this and making it much more sense. Okay, so
yeah,
to kind of get people to fall into this, which is what we want to be the best at. So this is what I want to
yeah,
train my guys to be the absolute best at.
yeah.
Right? And then on top of this, as well as aim dueling. I think aim dueling is the like get out of jail for free card. It's what's going to save you in a lot of cases. Is
Yes.
to
Yes.
essentially like let's just say in a 50-50 fight is to have height in some way, shape, or form, height, and then pounce into this system. So pounce in a way
Right.
that you're going to diagonal box fight to a place where they're not aware,
Yes.
or threaten a chop down to get them to come down into a diagonal box fighting situation.
Right.
Okay, that makes a lot of
Yep.
sense. Okay,
Yep.
so
You're spot on. Yeah. There's nothing wrong
so
with this.
to go into this, this is I'm such a nerd,
I'm not
but
kidding. Me too.
I will do
So,
anything. I will do anything to help
but
these kids because
yeah,
I think once I can really become a really good coach for them and really have this laid down and teach it extremely well, which has been very hard to do. I think the ROI of that is going to be amazing for
I
everybody
think
involved.
the way I like to think about it is I'm an overthinker,
Me
and
too.
so that's simultaneously good and bad
Yes, it
in certain
is.
situations,
You don't want to be
right?
a paralysis by analysis, as they call it.
It's 100% a double-edged sword, right? But the reason that Scented and Edgy in Chapter 2 had the advantages that they did is because of overthinking. They just knew when to use it, when not to use it. They had such good systems for low ground in Chapter 2 that I know for a fact that they were overthinking, in quotes, right? But overthinking is innovation. It gets you to create systems that were not made before. However, it has the potential to waste time in areas, right? You could totally miss the mark sometimes,
I
right? So
agree.
that's why it's pros and cons, right? With doing that.
You can definitely be paralysis by analysis, but I think
Yeah,
when you do
yeah.
things like this, it just furthers your knowledge base, and
So,
then
some things require more thinking, and some things require you to turn your brain off and practice, right? And so, and you need both. So, I guess
exactly.
understanding which one you are, and trying to compensate for the other end. So, for example, if someone doesn't think at all, I think they need to think more. If someone's an overthinker, I think they need to do more. Stop thinking, do more. Usually, your weakness is probably the opposite of what you are, because you're too far gone on that spectrum most of the time.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I might be, a little bit overthinker, although I practice a lot. I practice my
I,
mechs a ton.
yeah, I'm telling you, like the way I got better is to just find my weakness. Right, my weakness was that I would think more than I did. I would VOD review more than I did, and if I was even more mechanical, I would benefit.
My mechs are actually pretty good. I actually really like my mechs a lot. I think my aim is very good. I think my AR aim from a distance is probably my weakest mechanic. But I don't
Yes.
think like for me, I think I'm not getting Heiko games is not because of my mechs. I think it's because of my decision making. And that's why I'm
Right.
trying to figure out the best ways to make good decisions.
Mm-hmm. I'm a fan of that.
And I think it's also the same case for a lot of the kids that we have coming to these tournaments and on our team and stuff like that is it's their decision making. It's not mechs. And on top of that, if it was mechs and I told them what mechs to practice, they would have it in a week because they play a lot.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So and essentially like something else is, in this system, obviously we're thinking about time versus like damage, right? So coming back
Yep.
to that idea of like aim dueling, like how do you feel like because I just know like especially when I watch the best players in the world, man, they're like polarized, right? He's straight in your
Yep.
box, he's going to aim duel you. Like there's no question about what he's trying to do, right? Same thing with
Mm-hmm.
like Agent Cole, right? Peter Bot, like they want aim duel, they want to get in your box and aim duel you and take you out, right? And obviously the best players in the world have this down to a science to where they literally do 30 aim duels in a row and win all 30. Now, obviously, when they drop like a 30 pop, for example. Now, obviously, I know those are the best in the world and it takes a lot of practice to get that good, right? But, that's where I want to coach to that level, right? So the question is like, how would you say aim dueling kind of fits into this? And when would you attempt like a phase in? I know you said when it's awareness, right? Of like, so they have blueprints out or they have pickaxe out, right? I think that would be like a good
Yeah.
place to
Yeah.
start.
Blueprints out, pickaxe out, or they're unaware. One of those three. Yeah, because sometimes if they have blueprint out and they're holding the wall, and you, in this case, hopefully you have an HP advantage, right? Because they're aware of you, so you have to be careful of that. But if you get in, if you get inside the line by phasing in, and they're holding blueprint out, it's very over. Like you get to catch them off guard, right? Because
Gotcha.
you're
So
shotgun
then
versus blueprint, right?
at any given point in time, you have like aim duel, right? And the
Hmm.
indicators for aim dueling is blueprints, pickaxe, unaware.
Yep.
right? Maybe you took a wall and on like somebody took a wall on the duo side and they pull out a pickaxe, like your duo is pincing,
Yep.
right? And they went to try and replace that wall, so they pull their pickaxe out, or they're trying to hold the wall with blueprints, or they just straight up aren't aware of where you're at. So when you go to
Yep.
aim duel, it's blueprint, pickaxe, or they're unaware. I think that's a fantastic way to think about it. Now, one
Hmm.
other one I was thinking about is what if they miss that first shotgun shot? What if you can make them like okay, so there's a thing I teach called like the build break dilemma, which is essentially like okay, so like let's say you're here, right? And let's say it's diagonal box fighting situation, and you take this wall. So you go 1, 2, right? And you take the wall, let's just say they weren't aware, and they turn around and they have their shotgun out. If I just go 50-50 trade, I'm gonna take damage. So something that I see a lot of really, really good players do is they edit reset immediately and hold the wall. And then essentially the person will then shoot and then you edit, bam, and then
Yep.
or
Yep.
what you can do is you edit, reset, hold the wall, and then as they break the wall, Polarize does this all the time. As they break the wall, right? Let's just say they broke it, just reset it. You just walk right in, bam. So I kind of
Yep.
call it like build break dilemma, where if they don't shoot, right, then you know you're good for a trade.
Yep.
Why? Because you just made an end and didn't shoot. If they were gonna shoot, they would have done it here. If they were gonna pre-fire the edit, they would have done it here, right? So
Yeah.
then you
Yeah. Yeah.
know, bam, take the shot. So would you say like that is on the fourth one? Like if you can get them to build break and like shotgun miss?
Um, I'm trying to. I'm trying to understand. I mean, so you're saying the one time you should aim duel is if they break your wall?
No, 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 no. So there's four. So I think we have four. So blueprints out, right? So they have
Yeah,
blueprints
the
out.
fourth one is the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, so fourth one is let's say I'm here, right? So let's say they were boxed out here. Let me reset the Alright, so let's just say something happens, right? I'm in wood, maybe I'm like a layer above, pressuring, right? And then let's just say they're in brick here, right?
Yep.
Alright, so they have shotgun out, right? I'm able to take this wall. Let's just say I take this wall. So one, like 1, 2. But, you know, let's just say maybe I wasn't even from a diagonal. Let's just say for some reason, like, maybe I attempt to phase in, right? So maybe I saw the blueprint out, so I want to phase in, right? And I take the wall, but let's just say for some reason, like, I'm here in this case. Because maybe I failed to do a phase in. So I took the wall here. So I'm unable to get to the diagonal situation, right? What I'm saying is you make an edit and you reset the wall immediately. The goal of that would be is that on the reset they're gonna shoot the wall because they think that you're gonna make an edit and hit them, right? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
As that happens, as they shoot the wall and break it, you walk in. So they shoot the wall, which means they're in shotgun cooldown, which means the only time they can do damage to you is when they pull out their AR, there's gunspot delay, right? So now again, you're starting the aim duel first, right? So I'm able to reset this, bam, they break the wall, and then, right? Or I edit this, bam, they break the wall, I hold it, and now I can take it like this, and do that one if I want to, and then
Yeah.
finish
Yeah.
the kill diagonal.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. I guess the only issue is if you take their wall and they leave, like then it's like harder to aim duel. Like, yeah, I think it should be fine. I think I understand what you're saying. The polarized move is like where you walk in if you're gonna aim duel there, and yes, it would work. But I think the bigger reason why it works is not necessarily because you start first, but because you have such an advantage. Because and they don't have shotgun shot. Like so, for example, SMG is a very steady amount of like burst of damage. It's not sorry, it's not a burst of damage. Shotgun is a burst of damage, but SMG is not a burst of damage. It's a steady stream of damage. And it's not surprising. You don't just suddenly get hit 180. So, for example, if you're 200 HP and the enemy is 100 HP, and you know they don't have a shotgun shot for whatever reason, shotgun cooldown, whatever, and you both just SMG at each other, as long as you're not unreasonably missing, you should win. If you just both SMG each other, right? So that's like
Yeah,
why Polaroid does what he does, is because if that other guy doesn't have a shotgun out or whatever and breaks your wall, you can just walk in and just win the fight.
yeah, that's essentially it, yeah. And then, yeah,
Because
yeah,
you
as long
can't
as I
you
don't
can't
miss my
get
shotgun,
randomly
I'm
one
fine.
pump or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
If
think
you
I
if
think
you
we're on the same
trade
page.
bullets, right, then it's gonna work.
Especially if you start first. Especially if you're starting first. Like if they have blueprints out
Yeah.
and you just shoot them, or you
They, you know what would be actually really interesting is HP advantage. The way you can think about it is you technically are started first. That's why it's so good.
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
It's
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 just
as
another
if you got
advantage.
like the first three bullets. Like you can just view it that way, right? You got the first three bullets off before they started reacting. In reality, you guys are both shooting at the same time, let's say. But because you have HP advantage, it's as if you got three bullets off before the fight started, and so now you're just gonna win.
Yeah,
right?
I want
You
to.
could view
Okay,
it that way too. Yeah.
I think we're both saying the same thing. So okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So this all checks out. I think I'm teaching this well. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Hmm.
Okay, that was my TED talk on how to W key. All right. So the thing I want to mention though is healing, right? So I think this is
Yes.
something that this is also on my list here is healing. Okay, so when to heal and when not to heal, because I think this is misunderstood. Okay, you should only, this is my general rule. If I had to create a heuristic, you only heal if, not even if you lose the first trade, but if you just don't do damage in the first trade. So the healing is really determined by the first trade, right? Now, I think
Yep.
there's two ways that first trades go, right? Either you win the first trade and they don't do any damage at all, right? So you do like, let's say a 140 and they do like maybe 20 or 0, something like this. So a massive win on your end where like it's a massive significant HP difference, like 80 to 60, right? So this is definitely a win for you. So this is you've won the
Yep.
first trade. You obviously don't need to heal. The
Hmm.
second thing is a neutral, where like let's say it's 80-80. I don't think you heal in this situation because you talk about this a lot, is that if you heal and they heal, you grief both people's loots. Right? So if it's more of a
Yep.
neutral trade, you still don't heal. You just need to keep going. The only time you need to heal is when the first trade was so significant of a loss that you must be forced back and recover. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
here, right?
Exactly.
And you did like the opposite, right? So maybe you did
Yep.
20 and then they did like 140. This is the only time that you should
Correct.
actually heal is in this specific case,
I'll
right?
add
Because that,
a little bit of nuance to the middle one. It's usually good to continue fighting if two things I would say is like the other guy also wants to continue fighting. Let's say the other guy makes like 3 boxes, and you are now at this point where you feel like breaking their wall is too slow. They're probably gonna get a lot of heals up before by the time you get to them. At that point, to like I guess like make sure you're still on the same footing. You also heal because it's they're too far from you, right? They
okay,
made
yeah.
the
So you, or
decision,
or
right?
you've lost them. So you've lost
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, exactly. At that point, you might as well heal to not fall behind, right? Something like that. So yeah. Other than that, like perfect. Yeah, this is I'm in full agreement here.
Okay, cool. So then let's say we're in this case, because obviously I would love to say that our players are going to win their first trade every single time, but that's fallacy, right? There's no player that
Yep.
wins the first trade every time. That would just be a delusion to even say that. So
Yep.
then I would look at defensive skills. So I think the most important, this is essentially like if I had to say how to play defense, I would essentially say it just like this, right? You want to immediately do what we said tarping wise, right? And essentially what you want to look for, and I also agree with kind of going in this little phase position here and then kind of editing this like this. So you would be healing something like this, right? So if they attack from high ground, it's always shoot, tarp, right? And then you can place a ramp
Yes.
here, heal, right? And then you have this, you drop the mini, you heal the mini, right? And then let's say they're aggressing from that side again, right? I know they can't piece the bottom, right? So it's shoot, tarp, boom, immediately heal. And then you constantly tarp like this, and then you're always ready for a pre-fire. So you're always looking to pre-fire. So you're healing,
Yep.
they're here to shoot, tarp 180. You're just always tarping 180 away, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
if you have a cone in the box, then you do this peak, which I figured out because I studied these collision maps. I'm a weirdo. Whoops, I missed it. It's you have to stand like right
Yep.
here, right there, and then you edit it like this, and then you have to do this edit because they can actually take the floor. I don't know if you knew that, but if they're
Yep. Yep.
in here, yeah, they can actually take the floor. So you need to do this edit, so that way if they're trying to take the floor, right, you can edit the cone. Now you don't want them to
Right.
fall in, right, but you can definitely like edit this cone, right, and then take a shot, right, if they're trying to piece that. Oh, I messed this up. I gotta practice this, right?
Yep. Yep.
Right, or if they're diagonal box fighting you, right, it's always shoot and then you can tarp out the back, right? Right, so you're always tarping until you can get back to full HP, right? And it doesn't matter if a full key squad is keying you, as long as you're able to shoot tarp properly, they should never actually be able to kill you. As long as you're tarping properly, you should never die with having meds and materials in your inventory. So it's
Yeah.
always shoot
Yeah.
tarp,
Yeah. Like
and then get to a
yeah.
point where you can go back.
Right. I would say this is especially true in 1v1s. As soon as you get more enemies involved, it becomes way harder to do this. Then the solution is just to tarp earlier to compensate for the fact that you can't react. Like the more enemies that you have involved that are focusing you, the more you have to tarp out early.
So
and make
would you
space
say,
earlier.
I'm just curious, would you say it's worth it to make, this is something else I think about too, because Martos kind of does this, right? But like making, I don't think you make a fake box like how he does it, where like he's out here like this. I think this is risky,
Yeah.
right? But like making a fake box like this, so you just make an, or I messed up, but you expand like a little extra box here and then you heal. So that way they don't know what box to keep.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is good. Yeah.
Right? And then
Doing the
let's say
fake
they
box.
key
Yeah.
that box. Now you have full time, especially with big pots to heal up, and then you have 2 layers of protection, right? You have the ability again to hit free fires on this. So as they break the cone, they're trying to shoot this, and then you edit out the back so if you don't miss and die
Yes.
like I would do.
Yes.
And then
Yep.
you make a fake box,
Yep. No,
right?
absolutely. Like there's yeah, this is it.
So when you make the
That's
fake
absolutely.
box, I've been thinking you either make it this direction where you're planning on tarping, or one to the right, so you have more
Yeah,
space.
I do this somewhat frequently where it's like I tarp out like 2 or 3, right? And then I come back to the first box because then they think I'll do it at the end, like stuff like that, right? But
Yeah.
generally speaking, because visual audio is a thing, you want to crouch your way back to wherever you want to like hide.
100%, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
you never want to run. You always want to crouch. Yeah, you
yeah.
just walk. Yeah, and then
You can,
especially if
the
they're if
best
they're
part about
crazy
this
enough to
season, you can
jump in the
just
box, that even gives you more time to kill other players, because then you can just make this guy in the full box, or you can try and make an edit play on him if you feel like you have enough HP advantage.
yes, for sure.
Okay. So then the biggest skill of that would then be pre-firing, right? Making sure that your pre-fires are really, really, really timed. I actually found a great map for this. I want to show you some maps that I found as well that was on my list here, that I
Sure.
found to actually practice these skills. I work on these maps myself, but I want to see your opinion. So that's I think we're all on the same page as theory. I love that little 4x4 system that you kind of had for diagonal box fighting. And then we also
Yep.
have a way to make it so that every fight turns into a box fight. I think that's super duper important. And then we just have to train one fundamental skill, which is box fighting and aiming, right? Which is going to make them absolute savages at doing those things. So the map that I really like to do for pre-fires is this, really, it's really underrated. It's by this guy named Slyjax. By the way, I develop Fortnite maps. This guy's really good
Mm-hmm.
at it.
Slide
So
deck is
this
great.
pre-fires map is
Yep.
actually my favorite map for doing pre-fires. So like this is what I practice for, like, 30 minutes a day. And I'm 27, but I've seen such improvement in my pre-fires. I've only been playing keyboard and mouse for like 6, 7 months. Right. So like it's not like I've been playing for
Yep.
like 3 or 4 years or anything like that. Like I played a lot on controller, stopped playing for quite literally about 3 or 4 years most likely, and then only started playing again really because of this job that I have and this opportunity I have to coach the kids.
Yes.
So essentially, like he gives you these scenarios here, right? And you can kind of choose which ones you want to do. I'm gonna try and make one of these. This map, I don't know how he made this map. I actually don't. This map is actually, I don't know how he did it. But let's let it load in here. It does have a little bit of lag at the start, as all the maps do. I'm sure there's a bunch of devices. But essentially you like choose your scenario, and it will like play a little ding sound if you do the pre-fire correctly. So essentially these are
Right.
all the scenarios. You can choose which ones you don't want to do or do. Start, and then eventually one, pre-fire. I missed that one. I missed that one. Got that one. It plays like a little.
He's shooting a burst sesame.
I missed
Yeah, he
that.
is. He is. Yeah. So this map is great. Yeah, it's good. Absolutely, because you just get so many reps of the pre-fire. The biggest thing, like my opinion about maps in general, for most part, unless it's like a realistic or something like that, like any sort of drill is usually done to it's kind of like a bicep curl. So instead of doing I don't know deadlifts or whatever, or something that would train the bicep in a compound, you would train it in isolation. And so drills are really good at isolating specific skills that you might be weak at. And so
Yeah,
drills are really just the medicine for a really like specific thing that you're not that good at.
I just
So
need
then
to know
you
that I'm
isolate
giving
it.
the right medicine. That's like my
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And
Pre-fire
that's
map. If
why.
someone's not good at pre-fires, then for sure, like they need to time it better. Then that's what it would be for, right?
So the
I'm
next
I'm a
one
fan.
I
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have as well. I've been doing this one a lot too. I love this one, and you may even want to check this one out. The second version he created wasn't as good
yeah,
as this one. I don't know what happened. Make sure I have this favorited, but this is for diagonal box fighting, right? This
yeah. I've
this
I've seen
one.
this map. Yeah, I tell my students all the time about this one actually.
Oh, okay. So you've seen this one. I
Yeah,
love this one.
sounds good.
Okay, so we're both on agreement. So yeah, I love these ones. Now, another one that's just come out that polarized it. I don't know, bro. Something about these
This
gamers, man.
one's
They're also
recent, yeah.
becoming really good at game development because I'm like, I don't even know how they did some of this stuff. And I studied like I know Fortnite
They
very
usually
well.
hire map makers and stuff like that. So
I know, yeah, but yeah, some of these maps were created by pros. Like I can just tell, like professional
yeah,
game developers, like really good people.
yep.
But he has an amazing. He's the only guy. Only this is the only map I found that has like a phase in, so you can practice phase ins. So like I'm trying to just
Right.
show you like all the maps like that I've found that like I've used. Then like I think phasing is an important skill for the aim duels that we talked about. Because that honestly, if you want to finish a fight as fast as possible, aim dueling and knowing when the aim duel is important. But like essentially, you can kind of just phase in the walls, phase in the wall, right? You can come here. You can do
Yes.
it this way if you don't mess up like I did. Now my question to you is, let's say that happens, right? Because this is something I think about. Is let's say you fail that phase in. Should I always just immediately go back out to a diagonal? That's
Probably
something.
because you gave away your next move. Yeah. If you do
Yeah.
things
So
twice, especially in a vulnerable situation, then it's tough. Yeah.
okay, so yeah, that was something I was thinking. I just wanted to check it with you. So if you miss the first phase in, just go back out and diagonal block. Like, don't
Depends
try
on
to
how
phase in
hard you're
again.
winning, in my opinion, as well. So like this is why everything is nuanced, right? It's very tough to like, I guess like make rules for stuff. Is because if he's super low, then you could probably phase in with your gun out, and that way you don't have you're just gonna win in all situations. You just don't want to. How do I say it? You know, like
Okay,
just make sure like sometimes you might mess up and you might want to go again because of the fact that you're winning so hard. You know, so
fair
it
enough, fair enough.
depends.
I just think you gotta be careful because because generally then they'll become aware. So like then when they become aware, then they have their shotgun out. Now when on
Right.
second phase,
So
and you're gonna
so
forget
the
about it.
counter to that, is to like this is what I say. So let's say in this bucket or this matchup, as I like to say, is
Yeah,
200 HP versus 1 HP, and 1 HP can be 10 HP. It's for all purposes, the same thing.
under one
Is
shotgun
to
shot.
just keep your gun out frequently,
That's really
'Cause
smart.
or
So
keep your spray weapon out frequently. So if they edit, just spray through their wall. They die to one SMG bullet. Like that's how low they are. If
that
the only
yeah,
way you
okay.
throw
So
this situation is if you pull out your pickaxe. If you have
then you need
guns
to be
out
that
all the
quick.
time, or you phase in with with a P90, then you cannot lose. Like you cannot lose. Like there's no way.
I agree with
Now
that.
in a one pump meta, this is specifically only true in a non one pump meta. But because it's a non one pump meta, like yeah, you literally cannot lose.
Oh, I broke the map. Hold on.
But if it is a one pump meta, then you always have to be careful.
That makes sense. Okay, no, that I like that. So like, and I think that ties into what I was saying before is like if you're here, right? The moment you come here, I think rather than doing like maybe double pickaxe unless you're really fast, you want to be pickaxing here and then here pressure with the swap. Do you agree with that?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. I actually like that a lot. So if you're coming more here, pressure with the your gun out, and then here pressure with the pickaxe, and then we talked about the three benefits, right? These are good, yeah, before the system, right? And then this is also good for pressuring, right? But you want this here, so that way if they make the edit, you could just spray right in, and then you're in the aim
Right.
duel, and
Exactly.
especially if they miss or they have that gun swap delay because they just made the edit, right? So if I'm here and I make the edit and you just start spraying me, right? I have to hit this shot, or I'm completely dead if I'm the person making that edit.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. Actually, that's a really, really good way of thinking of it. This one has a phase in on the floor, but this is what I've been practicing for like phasing in. I would definitely recommend this for like, and I want them to do this like at least 20 times in a row correctly. You just can't miss a phase when it matters.
Yep.
See, I would have died. Right now, I need immediately, unless there's a good health advantage, yeah. And then maybe it's something again.
Yeah, like this map is good. Like I said, it's all dependent on the player's weakness and how urgent it is for them to fix it. So someone who doesn't have a problem with phasing in for the most part would you just wouldn't assign this to them. But it literally every drill should just be a reaction to a crippling weakness in someone that like they need to fix this. Like this is holding them back, right?
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
So that's how I
But
see
that's
it.
my job as the coach to figure out what those things are,
What those
right? And
weaknesses
then
are.
make sure I
Correct. Yeah.
have the correct drills to give to that person to make sure that their skill level improves.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Okay, so those were the maps, and that's just been like my general practice routine that I've been trying to get better at, so that way I know what to do. Got the double team properly. Obviously, aim dueling, right? Oh, let me show you this map. I'm curious on what your thoughts are on this. So another defensive skill with other than pre-firing would obviously be like perfect peaks, right? Like I think having extremely good peaking when it's time to make that trade and you're low HP is very, very, very important. So there's actually a really, really good peak bot that I found. Have you seen this next level peak bot or the Mechanics V4 peak bot? This is amazing. And I'm actually curious. I don't know
Bot?
if we'll have enough time today because I do have to head out here again at like probably in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah,
But
me too.
I'll
I have to leave in 5 actually. Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay, no worries. Then we have five
Next call.
minutes.
Yep, yep.
But like I've been thinking a lot about what are the best peaks to do. Because essentially when you take somebody's wall and you want to hit a shotgun shot, like the difference between Peterbot and everybody else is Peterbot makes an amazing peak, hits the guy for 180 and takes no damage back. That's just the answer,
Hmm. Yep.
right? Mongrel does a nice either whether it's a wide edit or just a very, very nice like peak. His positioning is good. He pops in the face for 180, resets the wall, holds the wall, take no damage, hits the guy again. And I think this bot here is a really, really good one. So essentially you have like reaction times, right? And then you have sizes. I'll just do the medium one, right?
Yep.
And then essentially your goal is to hit this robot. It got me that time because I missed the reset. Oh, it's lagging a little bit. Give me a second. Right. So when I'm doing these peaks, I'm a huge believer in kind of having this cone here to protect you because you can actually peek like that.
Yeah, the cone is one way to peek it for sure. Yeah.
Now, one thing I've really struggled with on this peak pot is hitting it from this angle without taking damage. I don't know.
Oh,
I've never
right.
been able to find a good angle to hit this from to where I can reset this wall. And this is such an important peak angle.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Try moving back further.
Like here?
Like don't be yeah, don't be so close to the corner and try to. No, the main reason why it's difficult, by the way, is because it's moving left and right. If it's standing still, it's
right.
You also need to. This is the tough part. Shoot faster. Like you don't have time to line up because it will always shoot back.
So I need to guess essentially.
Yeah, literally guessing. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's absolutely right.
Very close.
That was closer. That was closer. Yeah.
I think if you hit this thing, no humans hitting you. So that's why I'm so focused on this thing. If you master hitting this thing, nothing in the world is gonna. There's no human that's doing this.
This is a very common angle as well. So getting good at that is
so like, and then I've also been doing like just make a top 3, but I think hiding behind this cone because actually you don't even need this wall. And this is something I've been practicing a lot is just aligning here, so I can always kind of like try and hit it. Right, and there should actually be a sweet spot here. If my map, I've actually done some map. There should be a spots where I can always actually align my crosshair and hit the person if my movement is correct with the bot. So that's something I've been practicing too. Is because essentially you can just make a wide edit, pop it, and then like that, and then not take damage.
Yep.
But you should be able to do that at all points in time if you're positioned correctly on the cone. The problem is just figuring out where that position is.
I think peaking is a very interesting topic because it's like, I think people need to get good at peaks, but not necessarily which edit to do. I don't know how to describe it necessarily. I think so. The skill of using the environment around you to understand what is going to work and what is not going to work. I like to not be reductionist about peaks as much as possible. I like to give my students like very simple edits to make. And then tell them like, oh, get really comfortable with the movement. Get really comfortable with knowing how to peek around your environment. Get really comfortable to, because most of peeking, I would say more than half of peeking is your movement.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Yeah, and
so
it
like,
is
for
such a
example,
small part of it.
This I'm gonna get tagged every time. But like this, if I don't necessarily agree with that.
Right.
That I'm not gonna get tagged, and then this I'm not gonna get tagged.
Right. Exactly. And so, more importantly than the edit you choose, which I have less of a problem with, even though some edits are better than others for sure. But I honestly, you could get away with a lot of things if you just move correctly. So get good at moving first. That's what I tell people.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because a lot of edits work. That's the issue. Like the issue is some better than others, and I tried to tell my students like the best ones. And the one you were doing earlier with the diagonal one was good. The top row edit where you hide under, the reason why that is worse than the other ones.
It's hard to hold the wall.
Exactly. Correct. So you see the pattern, right? So
like this, and you will get the wall. That is something I've thought about. But this has to be
you can hold it. Yeah, you can hold it. But what if they get it first try?
Then yeah, you're in a tough spot.
Then you're dead. Yeah, you're screwed. So like, you can absolutely hold the wall. You're out of position. Like you can't flip the cone easily. So, but yeah,
I do agree with that.
Yep.
There we go.
So, so I'm yeah, just getting very used to like I guess like movement is the best way to get good at peaks. It's all, and also getting really good at the idea sometimes that peaks are not necessary. Knowing when to peak is also really important.
When will you say
I like
somebody should
to
peak and shouldn't peak?
peak is a counter to someone crosshairing you.
Yep,
And
right back into the, okay, yep. No,
right,
no, I got you.
yeah, and that's it.
We're
Like,
already that. Yep, I love that. I love the fact that we ended like right back on that whole thing that we
right,
went through last time. And by the way, that was genius.
yeah, you don't need to peak someone that has a pickaxe out. And the con of peaking, by the way, is that it's slower.
Yep,
So you don't need to be slow with someone pickaxing. You need to be faster. So then there's this idea of defense offense of what both roles are trying to do. We can talk about this a little bit. So on the offensive side, actually I'll mention it from the defensive side because we were just talking about it. Defensive guy wants to not play at the same pacing as the offensive guy. So for example, offensive guy is pickaxing. That's slower, right? You want to play fast in reaction. So you want to play fast at it, right? If they're pickaxing you.
that
Pickaxe
makes
is a slow way
sense.
to take your wall. You want to do the opposite of that. And if you're the offensive player, so for example, let's say you take their wall from a diagonal angle, and then you make an edit, and then they flip the cone, but then you notice they didn't leave their block. They're not trying to leave their block. They're trying to just make a fast play on you, or rather like not a fast play. They're trying to make a slow play on you, which is basically like they're sitting in the box just crosshairing you, right? Then you need to react to that in a slow way. So like that this will take a long time to explain, so I won't go too in
No,
depth in
I
it.
actually
It's also
understand.
not
So
that
like
important.
like
Yeah,
tempo, right? So like let's say somebody's
yeah,
spraying your wall, right? You need to react in a slow way because their move is fast tempo. And if they're trying
yeah.
to pickaxe that's slower, you need to react in a fast way because pickaxing is that actually makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Like so
Like,
like the tempo of what they're doing, you counter with the opposite tempo
yeah,
because the time, that actually makes a lot of sense.
yeah. If I had like 30 minutes, I could explain this fully, but it's honestly not. It is important, like for sure, but for most people, it's not super important. It's very like, how do I say?
No,
I think most
that's
people
actually a really
understand it
really
through
smart.
practice.
I
So
actually love how you broke that down. This is again how I got in contact with you. All right, I
yep,
do
yeah,
also have to go, and I know you have to
yep,
go.
for sure.
Um,
Yep,
make sure you answer
we'll
the
link up
email
later. Yeah. Hmm.
for sure, and I'll definitely see you soon.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll. Do you want me to respond to the email to set up a time, or do you want to do it through
100%.
Discord, like
Yes, respond to that ASAP.
the email, right? Okay,
Yeah, ASAP.
sounds good.
All
Sounds
right,
good.
thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you. Take
All
care.
right,
Bye bye.
Zycoma's the goat, guys.